And you guys for tonight, Baroness Lindley is my name. I go by Baroness most of the time. Now, tour lasts approximately an hour and 10 minutes. And we'll be done. So, start out, I'm going to tell you a little history about Eureka Springs. Oh, I want to mention one more thing. We have an event every weekend at 11 o'clock at night around a campfire down in the back. It's called Flickering Tales, and they're old stories of the Ozarks, some old crazy stories from long, long ago when the hillbillies up in the hills, and that was entertainment, telling stories. So we have that at 11 o'clock on the weekends. It's a good one to listen to stories as well. Let's start in on this one. Eureka Springs wasn't even, the city was named in 1879. And there were maybe 25 people living here at the time when it was named. The area was known to the Native Americans. They considered it sacred ground. Found a spring where water would go into the spring. They considered it to be healing water. So they would come in here, they'd leave all their weapons outside because sometimes it'd be different tribes. They would come in here and they would have their little healing ceremonies around this basin. And then they would go out. They didn't want to live here because they didn't want fighting to go on, and they didn't want any issues with that because they were afraid that might take away those healing powers, make somebody mad. Well, after the Native Americans, unfortunately, were moved off the land and off to Oklahoma, Trail of Tears, this land was empty. There was nothing going on up here, just like it had always been, until 1856. A gentleman from Berryville, his name is Alpha Jackson, Dr. Alpha Jackson. He'd heard these stories, and he really wanted to find out where this spring was. So he came up here hunting all the time, and he found it one day. The day he had a son who had sores on his eyes with him. He had his son bathe in that water, and the eyes were healed within a day or two. It has something to do with all certain minerals and things that were in the water, they believe. Now, Dr. Jackson set up a hospital for soldiers during the Civil War that you can see in downtown Eureka Springs. You know where Spring Street and Main Street kind of come together. Funnel Cake House? Anyone down there? Mm-hmm. Okay. If you go up those steps, kind of wooden steps, go up the side and look off to your left, you can see the hospital. I'll show you what it looks like. It's pretty cool. It started out as a cave hospital, and then it later became, they put walls on it like that. And you can still see it. I took this picture about a year ago. So it started out probably more as a cave, and then they later came in and added walls. So you can pass that around if you want to take a better peek at it. Well, after the Civil War, Alpha Jackson went back home, and again, it was quiet up here, until a friend of his from Texas moved to Berryville, and he was suffering from these horrible sores on his legs, these ulcers, and he was told there was no cure for him. So he met up with Dr. Jackson, and he suggested they go fishing. So they came up here, found the springs again, and there were some other people that were starting to camp around the springs. And he built himself a little shanty right next to it. He started bathing in the water, and within a month or two, his legs were cleared. So this got him all excited. At the time, there's 25 families there. They just named the area Eureka Springs. Eureka meaning, I found it in water, of course, the springs. So this judge who had come in from Texas, he got all excited about what was going on because he had just spent time experiencing the healing waters. Well, he talked a little too much. Word got around rather quickly. Within a year, population up here had swollen to 15,000 people up here on this mountain, in this little area. And things got to be quite a mess in a hurry. They chopped down all the trees because they had to have wood for fires and wood to build their houses. But when they did that, it left the hillsides barren. And when the hillside was barren, when it rained really hard, like some of those rains we get, it would send mud flows from up here all the way downtown. So Main Street was originally called Mud Street. And that's kind of why you have the unevenness down there as well from these different mud flows. Well, they didn't know what they were going to do. It was such a mess, but thank God they got help from a gentleman who was the 9th governor of Arkansas, Brigadier General Powell Clayton. He served as 9th governor, but as 1st governor during the Reconstruction period. So that was during a hard time. And after his first term, I'm not sure if he ran again or if they just didn't vote him in. So he only served 1 term, but he'd been a civil engineer before he went into the military. So he knew a little something about how to put a city together. He helped with the city of Leavenworth, Kansas. So he came in here, he heard so much about this area, and what he wanted to do was build a beautiful resort city, where for the wealthy especially, for the carriage set, I guess they called them back then, people who had money, and he had a lot of friends with money, and they helped out a lot by helping do things like bring the railroad in here. They formed this group called the Eureka Improvement Company, and they came in here and started building things, putting the city together, putting infrastructure in, putting in the roads. And then the general focused on the mountain, and he looked up here and he thought that would be the perfect spot for a beautiful Victorian mansion style hotel. And that's what he set about to do. From 1884 to 1886, his building was under construction. Now, they used the technique, they used workers from St. Louis who were Irish, and they were skilled in a technique known as dry stacking, which basically they would get the rocks, bring them in, cut them, and just stack them up. It's similar to how many of the castles in Ireland were put together, this dry stacking technique. And the hotel was done, and it was a beautiful hotel when it was finished. It had large rooms and crystal chandeliers, wide verandas on the outside. They even had an elevator back then, which is more than we have right now. And it had, let's see, what other things? It had, they had activities, swimming, dancing, bowling. There's a bowling lane. There's a couple of the lanes of the 5-pin bowling lane. And there are a couple of lanes downstairs in the salon. If you're here during the day and the salon's open, you can just step in and you can see the long lanes. The college girls use that too because they had a good bowling team. And the college girls came pretty quickly after the hotel was built. Like 1909, business got so bad, the economy was bad, people weren't believing in that healing water stuff anymore, and so they had to close it. And they didn't know what they were going to do. So what they did, they turned it into the Crescent College and Conservatory for Women. And everything in here has to do with that college, everything. They were here for 25 years. In the summertime, it would go back to being a hotel. Well, after the college closed, the hotel was closed a few years, and then Norman Baker came along, and he put in his cancer curable hospital. And we'll talk a lot more about Norman when we get downstairs. And you all have the opportunity to go into the refrigerator that's in the morgue, where they stored bodies, where Norman put bodies for we don't know how long, but you could fit as many as 28 bodies in if you laid them out flat. I keep trying to get my guests to do that, but they won't. They just want to stand up in there. So anybody that wants to go in can go in. I'll shut the door and I'll turn the light off. Cool. Well, after Norman was hauled out of prison, and I'll explain that downstairs as well, this hotel again was closed. They sent all the people home, they closed the hotel down. Then various people would buy it and start trying all over again, but just couldn't quite do it until 1997. A couple from Connecticut, Marty and Elise Rennick, the ones who owned the Caliphone there, and those other beautiful instruments down in the lobby, they came here and ended up buying this hotel. They came to retire and maybe set up a music museum, but they bought a couple hotels. Mason Park, this one, and the War Eagle Mill. Now, so we have them to be grateful for saving this hotel, because there was talk that everyone knew it was for sale. And there was one gentleman who was interested in purchasing it because he wanted to tear it down and put in a chicken farm on the property.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Aren't you glad that the Runnings came to town? Because they said, somebody put nuts